Hi everybody, welcome to Active Self-Protection Extra, here again with Tim Forshee, and we recently had a video on the main channel that was like peak Florida man.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about,
Yeah. So, altercation rises to somebody with brass knuckles, then somebody pulls a knife and swipes with it, and then there's a gun involved. Let's talk about it.
All right.
Firearms Legal Protection is who I trust to help me after a use of force incident. If you're a Firearms Legal Protection member, you can attend our monthly Active Self-Protection training seminars for free. Check out all they offer to their members at the link below. So, we don't get to see the beginning, right? We don't get to see all the stuff that leads up.
I think we can infer, but yeah, you're right, we didn't see it.
There's a lot of stupid, obviously, to get to the place where we started recording.
When I watched the video and you pointed out maybe 10 seconds in that it was in Florida, I was like, it took me about 2 seconds to realize, oh, this is in Florida.
Yeah, Florida man. Florida man is...
Stereotypes exist for a reason.
Sometimes for a reason. So there was some kind of argument, but now it's interesting because at the end of things, the guy who was the motorcyclist who pulls a gun out of his vest, points it at the guy, and go watch the lessons on there. There's a bunch of them. And then when police finally respond, they charge the guy with the knife with aggravated assault and nothing for the guy with the motorcycle. I want to talk about that a little bit because when we see things come up, the guy with the knife is on screen, but so is our motorcyclist with a set of brass knuckles on.
Right.
And I look at that, Tim, and I go, wait a minute, that seems, who did what first? Because I gotta be honest with you, if a dude has brass knuckles on and is jawing at me, I'm thinking, that guy's gonna put me in the hospital.
Right.
So, I mean, what do you think? Why?
Well, first of all, there's this thing about brass knuckles. I think that, he could have had a tire iron, he could have had a bat. He could have had a lot of things, and I would say, oh, this guy can put me in the hospital, and it raises the level.
Absolutely.
To me, brass knuckles is whether this is correct or incorrect, my opinion, and I think a lot of jurors' opinions would be that a brass knuckle is an underworld beat-down brawler weapon. It's not a defensive weapon, it's an offensive weapon.
100%.
And I think of the very nature, if somebody gets out of a car and they've got on brass knuckles, I'm like, okay, this is not going anywhere good. Because you pull a gun to deter things a lot, right? You might even pull a knife to deter if that's all you've got, although knives tend to be viewed more offensive than defensive as well.
Sure.
But brass knuckles, that is an up-close breaking somebody's jaw.
It's worth nothing other than I'm going to punch you so hard that it's going to break your face.
It's going to break your jaw. It's going to start causing fractures in your skull, which can easily kill you, as we both know. So there's just something about if I ever get out, first of all, why do you get out of your... if you're on a motorcycle, you're already driving in the environment. So that's a different situation. I used to ride motorcycles, but the guy in the truck, just roll your window up and drive away.
Yeah.
Right? So why would everybody get out of vehicle? People do it all the time, but it's a big healthy dose of stupid, curious to the panhandle sometimes, I guess.
We could have avoided these charges by keeping the window up,
and
driving, calling 911.
Yeah.
Hey, I got a dude on a motorcycle who is screaming bloody mad at me. This is where we are. I need help.
I had a guy on a motorcycle many years ago when I was in college. I was going to a friend's wedding. I was in the wedding. And I was driving I had a Datsun 240Z at the time. And a guy, I had somehow offended, in a very small town in downstate Illinois, I had somehow offended three or four guys that ride motorcycles. And I had no idea what I did. And they're pulling up next to me. And even back then, I would have been, 22 years old. I still just kept my eyes straight ahead and just ignored him. Next thing I know, the guy starts kicking the side of my and did some considerable damage. Just caved in the whole side of my stupid little car. And I still never stopped. I just kept driving. And I drove around the town and finally found a little tiny police department. And by that time, the bikers had disappeared. So I went in there and found a cop. The cop knew who the guy was that I was talking about. He'd gone to high school with him.
He's like, oh, you found Jim.
And he literally said, hey, son, if you want me to, I'll file a report. And you're going to have to come back down to this city and appear in court in a couple months. Or if you'd rather, I'll just make you a promise right now that the taillight and headlight on his motorcycle is going to get shattered tonight, and you can just go on about your business.
Really?
I was like, sometimes small town America works pretty good. And that's how we left it. But yeah, if you're in a vehicle and a guy on a motorcycle has a problem with you, you've got an unbelievable advantage. You've got a fortress around you that he doesn't have.
Right.
Drive away. Right? If it's two motorcycles or two cars, maybe it's a different analysis. But this is very easy for me. Why would you stop and get out of the car? And again, Florida man is why, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm confronted by somebody with brass knuckles, that tells me that this person is serious about getting in a fight and following through on the fight versus the deterrent effect of a gun or the deterrent effect of pepper spray. Somebody's got brass knuckles, they are going to need to get up close to me and grapple with me and break my face.
There's no standoff in brass knuckles.
There's no standoff. And to me, that sends a whole different message. There's probably a more dangerous message that I'm receiving.
So if I am guy in truck with knife's attorney, I'm arguing, hey, he had brass knuckles out before my client had a knife out. He's just defending himself.
That's right. That's right. Now, and that's an offensive weapon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. That's something you have to approach somebody and get on them and hit them with it before it can be even an effective weapon. That's,
Now, I think his defense will fail because he takes a swipe
with the knife, and that was stupid. I mean, it was, first of all, you can tell he didn't know how to use a knife, obviously. But the point is that what's that supposed to do? I mean, you cut the guy's bicep slightly with a knife, with a really wild roundhouse swing with a knife.
No, he's clearly unskilled.
Everything about it was really stupid. But again, one thing you talked about at the end of the video that I was wanting to talk about at the very beginning of the video was the woman who was filming it.
Oh, good night.
I mean, her voice was irritating, but I mean, I was a bouncer for a lot of years, and I know you've got a background that's similar in a lot of ways. The woman, or in modern society, the partner doesn't have to be a woman, but the person who's egging that on. Because I don't know why they crave drama. They want to be fought over. Maybe they're turned on by it. Yeah, and so I mean, I honestly believe that if she hadn't been part of that, of course we don't know what caused the altercation in the first point. It might have been her. I don't know. But if she had not been there, my strong feeling is it would have de-escalated. They'd have gone their separate ways. But she was egging it on and enticing and inciting, and I think that was a large part of it. And that's young cops, and they go to a domestic violence report, and there's a young woman there with a black eye, and so they focus on the guy, and then they end up getting stabbed in the back by the woman. Happens all the time. It's just
happens a lot.
This bystander that eggs things on and needs the drama. I don't know if it's bipolar or what's going on there, but that was a big part of that video. I think if she hadn't been involved, it probably would have never been news.
Yeah, so I think this one is kind of interesting, though, because I think the presence of those brass knuckles says, whoa, what's going on here?
Whole different tone.
And also, again, I love what you said, Tim, that hey, so a lot of times we draw a gun as a shield, not as not to say back away from me and get off me.
Device,
it's a standoff device. Right. And so, I don't mind that, but I wouldn't have been surprised if the guy on the motorcycle got charges too for the brass knuckles and those things. I mean, not possession, but
I think this would have been a case where probably, I hate to say it, but there's times when both people are wrong. I think they both should have been charged, in my opinion. But it's not always one person's right, one person's wrong. It's not that cut and dry.
So I don't know if I've told this story on the channel either. You talk about just getting away, and I think yours is interesting in that. This is a couple years ago, still driving the Mustang, and I'm driving down Bell Road, and you know how bad Bell Road gets in the West Valley.
Yeah.
And so a lot of traffic, we're kind of moving in and out, and this guy just felt like I had offended him in some way.
Yeah. Don't even know
whether
why.
I cut him off or whatever, which could happen. That car had a lot of horsepower. And comes up next to me, and he's just full anger on my passenger side. And I'm like, hey, whatever, dude, okay. I'm not rolling my window down. I'm not addressing you, whatever. And he just won't let it go. And those streets out there in the West Valley, they stack up a lot of traffic depending on the day and the time. Right. So this dude then turns and makes a right-hand turn while I'm sitting stuck in a red light, pulls his car into the parking lot and parks and jumps out of the car. And I'm looking at that guy, and no kidding, I'm like, okay, so I'm stuck. I can't go anywhere in my car. I'm jammed in traffic. I got nowhere to go. If he comes out just himself and he wants to beat on my car, my doors are locked, got my phone in hand, and I can, just record him beating the tar out of my car, and we'll let the cops deal with it and the insurance company. If he comes out with a tire iron or something, he's going to get a gun pointed at him. If he comes out with a gun, I'm getting out of this car and he's getting shot. And so I'm kind of, planning for 2 seconds and all this stuff.
But that's a great example of yellow going to orange. I mean, without even having to think about it.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. So he gets out and just decides he stands there on the sidewalk. I'm in the middle lane of 3 lanes, and he's standing there on the sidewalk just screaming about what how shall I say this? An effeminate man that I am, and how I need to get out and fight him, and he'll beat my ever-loving self, and I'm just like, oh God, man, I'm so glad I'm not 25.
Right.
I'm so glad I'm not, because at 25 I might have taken that invitation. Yeah. But at 44 or whatever I was, nah, I'm good, man. So then the light turns and off we went. We get to the next light, and it was really funny. This other guy pulls up next to me, and he's like, hey, really, you know, so I rolled my window down, and he was like, "What the heck was that guy's problem?" And I'm like, "I don't know, man." Like, that was the weirdest thing.
He would have been a witness at your trial.
Yeah, right. He would have been a witness at my trial. So, man, the bigger thing I think is try your best to avoid the problem.
In road rage, I used to wave, which I know you've advocated, but I also will say sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Wave
My
and
bad.
say sorry.
Yeah.
I have no idea what I'm apologizing for, and even if I know I don't owe him an apology, I apologize anyway. Because that will tend to de-escalate rather than escalate. Yeah. And again, when I'm 25, I'm not doing that. I'm gonna raise the stakes and scream back.
But even if you just, hey, my bad, sorry about that, bro. Yeah. You know, you make that face of, I'm the idiot, you know, and then, okay, that may get it down enough. All right, he knows I'm better than him.
Yeah.
Yeah, you bet. You're it, friend. No more problems.
I'm scared of you.
I'm scared of you.
Win. Yeah.
You have won. Have a nice day. Awesome. Thanks so much for the discussion.
Absolutely. My pleasure, bud.